What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Respectfully. I am your host, Cam Farmer. And today we have a very special guest. Uh, she's multi hyphenated. She has a lot of titles: athlete, host, uh, commentator, play by play announcer, student, um, 4-star recruit, McDonald's All American nominee. You get the idea. Uh, Multiple time Final Four appearancer. I don't know if that's a word, but I have a very good friend of mine who I've had the pleasure of sharing the classroom with at UGA. That is none other than Miss Nyah Leveretter. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I can't complain. I'm sorry I don't have a button here to cue the applauses. Because I appreciate your time. Being here on such short notice, but we're gonna get right into this. I know I said podcast host, and I know before we recorded, I kind of went down the list of things that I want to talk to, just like transition.
hmm
But I want to insert one thing. You are a new podcast host
Yeah.
of the What Now podcast with your co-host, Miss Jaden Vickers. Talk about uh, the inspiration behind the podcast, how you and Jaden, I know she played softball um, in Kentucky, I believe,
Yeah.
and talk about the inspiration behind that and what do you and Jaden hope to accomplish with it?
Yeah. So Jaden and I, we met at Kentucky, but we weren't really super close. We were in the same circle of friends, I guess. And then I transferred to Georgia. She ended up moving back to Marietta/Atlanta area, and we became really close because we were closer and we were just, I guess, the only two people from Kentucky that were kind of ended up in this area after that year. And so she played softball, I played basketball, and she's out of grad school. I still have one more year left, but we were kind of just always hanging out together and going to different networking events. And she wants to be a sports agent. I want to do sports media. And we just always go to these events together. And we just had the idea of like all these conversations that we have in the car about what we're trying to do and like figuring ourselves out outside of athletics because we're both done now. There's so many people who also are going through the same thing that run into other circles. So she went to Rutgers before she went to Kentucky, and I just happen to know a plethora of people who played basketball or any type of sport, football, at different Division I schools, and just seeing the transition of now we're into the real world. Like literally, what now? What do we do now? Like what do we have to look forward to? Outside of athletics and figuring out ourselves. So the goal is just to, create some inspiration and talk about success and challenges and just what life in your early 20s really is after being done with sports in college. So we'll have professionals who have maybe been like 20, 30 years removed from college or people who are around the same age as us just starting to figure things out just to get some tips and advice and just some insight into what that life looks like.
Yeah, no, that's really really cool. It's really awesome to hear your why behind why you started this passion project, and I like how it's not you know obviously it's sports centered, right? And it's designed to create inspirations among former athletes, or not former athletes, but athletes that are about to transition outside of their craft. Um, yeah, no, that's really good. So how long was this in the making? When did you all decide to, hey girl, like I want to start a podcast?
That's literally what it sounded like too. We were on the way back to her house from a networking event in Atlanta. This was like literally not even 2.5, 3 months ago. Like this was very, yeah, very spur of the moment. And we just decided like, yeah, this is something that we should actually do. Like everybody, it's not hard to grab a mic and we all have social media platforms to do this. And we have, I guess, the network of other athletes, coaches, and just people that we've met throughout the years to support us and actually listen in and watch. So we decided 2.5, 3 months ago, let's do it. And then um, we made our logo like literally a month ago. And then we just started like putting out content. And now we're in the process of getting guests organized and cameras and podcast equipment, and then trying to also decide what we're going to actually be talking about episode to episode. So it's been really quick. A lot of people, I guess, have assumed that it's taken probably like over more time than that to prepare for it, but it really hasn't. Like it's really just spur of the moment, like, hey, like we may as well. And I feel like we're doing a good job at handling kind of everything behind it because I'm not playing basketball anymore. So all the energy and time I spend into like going to practice or a lift, like outside of class, I'm doing content for the page or I'm reaching out to people, and so is Jaden. And we're just talking about ideas. So it really has not been that, I guess, heavy of a weight. It's actually been a lot of fun and yeah, very spur of the moment, very recent too.
Yeah, no, I was thinking like, okay, this had to have been like a year,
Uh,
in the making, but you said last 2 or 3 months. And
yeah,
I'm like,
recent.
interesting,
Yeah,
interesting.
we're
What
very serious.
Yeah, yeah, no, but that's good though, because you all had that idea and you guys hopped right on, like right on top of it,
Yeah.
and you all didn't want to persist, that idea out any further. So that's really good. But I'm gonna ask you more questions about it, and especially specifically your transition into media towards the end of this podcast. But I want, before, when I have guests on, I try to do a good job of helping them establish their humanity before we
Mhm.
get into all, of what they've done in their athletic career. So really, my question is very simple. Who is Nyah? Who is Nyah Leveretter?
Okay, yeah. So if I had to explain myself in a couple of sentences, I would just say Naya is somebody who's very caring and loving and wants her own self to succeed, but also wants others around her to succeed. Um, I grew up in a military family, so a lot of my characteristics are based on how I was raised in terms of the structure and timeliness and like treating others with respect. Because my mom is also an educator, so I just have a lot of those different aspects from my parents and the environments I've been in that have kind of made me into the person I am today. And I think that is a testament to how my parents have raised me in terms of how I carry myself and how I treat others. But it's also just like rewarding too because treat others like you want to be treated. That's just how I decide to live every day of my life and every interaction I have with somebody. So I just say loving, kind, and successful and want others to be successful as well.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's really good. And again, the reason why I asked that question is because again, it's very important. I don't want our viewers to just see you as the former athlete, right? I want them to see you as, a young, proud and determined young woman who's designing to make her mark and where she comes from. And I'm happy that you mentioned your parents. Um, and obviously the seed was planted when it comes to basketball when you were in Japan.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get to that in a second because you mentioned that you're military family, so that makes a lot of sense being in Japan. But I want to ask you a question about your hometown, Blythewood, South Carolina. Um, I have here from an article from KSR, Phoenix Stevens wrote, and it was very good. Um, you spoke on the value of your home, Blythewood. Uh, what was it like? And you can even talk about it now, but what was it like being, a four-star recruit coming out of Westwood, out of Blythewood, and you're, transitioning to Kentucky, and then you're, transferring to Athens. What are the emotions like for you to go back home and be with your family, be with your friends, be with your loved ones, and be in the environment that you grew up in?
Yeah, it's so much fun. I always say like now being done with athletics, I have so much more time to actually go back and, spend every holiday with my parents, even if it's just like a birthday or an important weekend or see my friends and just go back to, I guess, my roots. Every time I go home, I try to make sure I go see my trainer, Ashley Edwards, and I speak to Coach Baldrick, my high school coach, and then CG, that's my volleyball coach. But it's just so nice to have been raised and had so many people support me and be able to come back and still like communicate and have relationships with these people because they are essentially the reason why I've gotten to where I've been over the past, what, 5, 6 years. Playing basketball or growing up in Blythewood was a lot of fun because there was like a big group of us who were being heavily recruited, played AAU, were very competitive with basketball. So it was just a really good time in the Midlands in South Carolina, to actually be kind of put on the spotlight. And I don't know, it's like it was a boom of women's basketball or girls basketball during that point, and to see that same kind of wave shift into me actually being in college and that boom of college basketball, it's just been amazing. But I love going back home to Blythewood. I try to go back as often as I can, and my parents still own a house there, so I'll be going back there for a while. And that's the area that raised me. Those are my people. That's my space. And I wasn't born there. Obviously, like I said, military child, so I moved around a lot. But that's where we lived the longest, and that's kind of what drove me to where I am today. Because before I moved to South Carolina, I wasn't taking basketball very seriously. But that's where I decided, like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do to earn my degree in college, and pursue sports media after that.
Yeah, yeah. You said so you were somewhere else before you got to Blythewood. Where was that?
So I was born at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and then we moved to Fort Lee, Virginia. After that, I moved to Japan for 3 years, and then I actually lived in McDonough, Georgia, for a singular year. Yeah, so my dad was at Fort McPherson, and I guess that's the Tyler Perry Studios now because they bought it out. And that's
Yeah,
how we
yeah.
ended up going to South Carolina because his unit moved to South Carolina. So
Well, I'll be darned because I quite literally, as I live and breathe, live 30 minutes down the road from McDonough, Georgia. Like
okay, yeah.
quite literally. Wow,
A lot of
that's
people don't know that because I just sometimes kind of forget because it was literally a singular year. But
yeah.
yeah, I made a pit stop in Georgia before this.
That's really cool. So when you were in Japan, what was that like? Obviously it's a huge culture shift, culture shock rather. What was your experience in the 3 years if you remember being on the opposite side of the world?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun from what I can remember. So I was ages 5 to 8. And it wasn't a very huge culture shock because we lived on a military base. So we lived on Kadena Air Base, although my dad was in the army. So he worked at Torrey Station, which was like 10 minutes away.
Mm,
But I enjoyed it a lot. I learned a lot. Obviously, we had to learn American curriculum through the DoDEA system, through
mm.
DODS. That's what the education system is called when you go overseas. But we had a lot of classes where I learned about Japanese history and culture, and my parents did a really good job of making sure we went off base to, um, interact with food and events and just the culture of Japan. I was on an island called Okinawa, but we also made it to mainland Japan, which is where a lot of people go for like Tokyo and things like that. So I enjoyed it. I feel like that kind of made it okay for me. I always say this, but I think me being in Japan and moving around so much made it so much easier for me to go to schools outside of South Carolina. So outside of my comfort zone of just here with my family, like I'm okay with, traveling and finding what I like about a different city because I've had to do that all my childhood and I've enjoyed it, and it's been very rewarding because I feel a lot more cultured in a sense of other countries and experiences versus just I'm from Blythewood, South Carolina. I'm going to go to Clemson or South Carolina or another school in this area, and like that's going to be my story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like that's really good because as a matter of fact, that actually transitions into what I want to ask you about volleyball.
Okay.
Uh, but before I get into that, you mentioned Okinawa,
Mhm.
and I'm a huge Karate Kid lover, and Karate Kid Part Two, the setting takes place in Okinawa, Mr. Miyagi's home country in Japan.
I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really good film. So if you get a chance, I mean, granted, it's violent. It could be a little bit violent. It's a
No,
karate
I'm cool
movie.
with that. I like
Just
action. I like action adventure.
perfect, perfect. So
I
you,
know that. Wow.
yeah,
That's
exa-
crazy. I should have heard that by now.
exactly. Yeah, no, 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 no. Like it's a yeah. I think it was Okinawa, and that's where Mr. Miyagi was born and raised, and that's how he learned karate, and obviously the rest was history. But yeah, no, that's really good. And so volleyball.
Mhm.
Everybody don't really know that you were an elite athlete, elite volleyball athlete. Biana, if you see this, Biana Moneke, who's a great friend, I love her, bro. If you see this, Nyah is a volleyball player. Just wanting to let you know. Um, but yeah, no. So hold on, because I have a couple stats here.
Lord.
I have to say this because people got to understand. We got
I
to set.
don't talk about it a lot. I really don't.
You
So
do,
this is gonna be
well, that's okay. I'm gonna talk about it for you because you. So you in 3 out of the 4 seasons you played on the volleyball team, from freshman to senior year, you led the team in kills per set 3 times, and the only time you didn't lead was, I believe, your junior year because you had 2.9 kills a set. You finished your high school career with 765 kills. This is according to Max Preps.
mhm.
And you had a hitting percentage of 32%. And you had a kill percentage, which was the highest of your career in high school, of 52.9. That's why I asked the question, who is Nyah Leveretter? like
Yeah.
and this is just your attacking stats. This isn't your serving, this isn't your blocking, your digging, which you were also very good at, your ball handling, your serve receive. Like this is just attacking.
Hmm.
Clemson. Clemson, or wait, did Clemson approach you in basketball or was that volleyball?
I think it might have been both.
Okay.
I know basketball for sure because I went to a bunch of camps, and I remember we played Daniel High School in playoffs, and I don't know if it was a football coach's daughter or if a volleyball coach was there. I can't remember, but something along the lines of that. I know in terms of colleges, when I was being recruited for also basketball, when I went to Louisville, I went on an unofficial visit, but
Yeah.
it was like basketball and volleyball together.
Wow. That's really
I
cool.
like never talk about that because it just seems like it was so long ago. And then I didn't play volleyball in college, obviously. But whenever people say that or like read that, they're like so shocked. And I'm like, yeah, like you just didn't know me in high school to know. But volleyball and basketball.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, the reason why I mentioned Biana, I don't know if you had the pleasure of meeting
Hmm.
her. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. The reason why I mentioned Biana is because Biana, like last year, because I covered the volleyball team last year,
Hmm.
and so her, Erica Lovett, Sophie, like they were the best kill makers on the team.
Yeah.
And so when I'm looking at in your high school career, I'm like, you had 258 kills your senior year, and I'm like, if you add that prime Naya and to coach Black system, I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, y'all may have just
I love that though, because I've always like, even though I've played basketball, I always try to keep up with volleyball no matter what
yeah.
school I'm at. So when I went to Kentucky, which is funny because Sophie went to Kentucky too.
She did.
So like I met her there, but she knew a lot of my friends that I knew from volleyball. Most of my best friends I played club volleyball with, and
Wow,
so they knew Sophie. There is a girl named Isabel. She played at Kentucky too, and
cool.
she played like I guess rec league basketball when I was in fifth
Yeah.
grade in South Carolina with me, and they all ended up at Kentucky, and so I'd always keep up with them because
Wow.
Kentucky volleyball was like back to back to back to back SEC champions at that point. So yeah. No, I always keep up with volleyball. It's a part of me that like I watch volleyball to this day. It's
Yeah.
very exciting. So
Yeah, no, I saw, been keeping up with Texas and Penn State and I for my first time in covering volleyball as a sport, it gets real in those sports, man.
yeah.
Like I don't it's not a sport that people will say that people should say, "Oh, I mean, all you got to do is just go up and hit,"
And it's not
It's
boring to watch
no,
either. Like
it's not.
you're gonna be on your toes, and it changes just like that, like every rally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um that's why I wanted to ask because I know you say you don't like to you don't like to talk about it and people it seems so long ago, but I had to ask because it kind of translates into, your high school career with basketball.
Mhm.
Um, I when I covered volleyball, there were similarities that I saw between, volleyball and basketball. Um, what were some of those similarities that you discovered
Yeah.
while you were playing volleyball at the same time you were playing basketball?
Yeah, it was a hectic time. Sometimes I'd get out of school, go to my trainer, go to Ashley's gym for like an hour and a half, and then come back for volleyball practice.
Wow.
It was a lot, but it was so worth it. And shout out to both my coaches, like Coach Baldrick, CG, and Ashley. Like they let me go back and forth between all three things because they knew I wanted to do all three things. So yeah, but I think something that I learned was very relative between the two sports was just hitting the ball at the highest point, but also grabbing the ball at the highest point. So like me blocking and hitting in volleyball, having to, I guess, perfect the timing of that helped me with rebounding in basketball because it's like I'm so reactive to get the ball, like I'm gonna reach and get it before anybody else does. And thank God I was athletic enough to like, have the spring at the time, especially before my knee injury. That like definitely helped me in both sports. So
Yeah. No, that's really, really good. And again, that translates into high school basketball. Because and I'm looking at, again, I didn't want to come on here and just feed you bull jive.
yeah.
I wanted to do my journalistic integrity and do my research and have some stats. But um your high school career was just as good as it was your volleyball career as well. Um, when Clemson came, because I know you talked about when you were in Japan, Japan kind of helped you uh find or navigate life in uncomfortable situations, or not uncomfortable situations, but come out of your comfort zone, so to
Yeah,
speak.
for sure.
Um, what was it about Kentucky that ultimately led you to obviously attend the school and be a part of the team that you didn't want to stay in state and go to Clemson?
Yeah. So I remember I got the offer from Kentucky. We were at Run for the Roses or Run for Roses. I forgot the name of it, but it's a tournament in Louisville.
Okay.
And I remember seeing Kentucky there. Had heard from them a few times, but when I was on the way back, my parents were driving obviously because I didn't have a license at this point. But we were driving through Lexington because we had to drive through Lexington to get to South Carolina. And that's when I got the call from Coach Mitchell, and he basically like offered me. And when I got home from then on out, like I just heard so much from Coach Elsie, Coach Butts, and just Coach Smith, Coach Amber Smith. Everybody on the staff was just very proactive in communicating with me and letting me know what's going on at Kentucky and the opportunities. And they weren't just interested in me just for basketball. I've known from a young age I want to be on TV. I want to do sports journalism or sports media. So they knew that, and they made sure to give me the information about the school in terms of that and how they can help me with that. And then they bought into me as a person and an athlete. And I think that was the biggest thing for me because my parents, like I said, they helped me with everything. My parents are my rock, and they were very open and real about me about the recruiting process and how some people will like say these things while you're being recruited and it won't be that way when you get there. But I could just tell they were genuine with it, and not to say like, oh, everything's going to be like sugars and roses and peaches and just amazing, but like you're going to work hard and you're going to reap so many benefits from that. And they always say that at Kentucky too, like you put in 4, they're going to give you 40 years of benefits after that. And that's truly what it's been. I enjoyed my time so much at Kentucky, and Coach Elsie was supposed to be my assistant coach, but she ended up being my head coach after Matthew
Mm,
Mitchell. I don't even know if I can say retire because he's coaching again now, but at the time, what I thought was retiring.
yeah.
So, yeah, they've just taken care of me on and off the court, even just building me as a leader, not even just basketball wise, but just in the real world. So I'm so thankful I went to Kentucky and that was my experience.
Yeah. No, I concur. I can hear it, and I in looking in preparing for this interview, I had the opportunity to look at some of, your accomplishments in, outside of the basketball court and the councils that you were a part of, the different organizations and the leadership positions that you held. In reading this article, you told Phoenix, who interviewed you, you said, "I am more than an athlete, and
Hmm.
I want to be known as more than an athlete." And you spoke about the humanity that you valued from your coaching staff, from the athletics department, from the university as a whole. What does being more than an athlete mean to you? Not only as someone who has been on the court, who's competed at a high level, but someone who desires to make their mark in the world of sports journalism.
Yeah. So even just outside of sports journalism, I feel like compared to all the humans in America or in the world, there is a small percentage of people that have the platforms that student athletes do. And so the biggest thing my mom made sure to tell me before I went to college was like, you know, you're multifaceted. You're not just an athlete. Like you are a great human being before anything. And so I just always try to use my platform to whether that's advocate for other student athletes or, be a role model to maybe somebody who is in the area of the school I go to, but doesn't have the same resources or upbringing as me, and just giving them like the idea of this is what you can be if you put in hard work and like these things are attainable. So that's been the biggest thing for me. And then in terms of sports journalism, um, same thing, just giving other athletes the platform and having that trust athlete to athlete to tell your story in a way that you want it to be heard. So I know a lot of times like there's a lot of people who maybe don't like talking to media or journalists especially as athletes, but sometimes it's just like awkward for me because I have the role of like I was an athlete but I'm also a journalism student. So I try to always bridge that gap of learning of like no, like I know you probably don't want to answer this question, but like it would be really helpful for you to say it in your own words so then like there is no misunderstanding. And I just try to always use my platform, and not even just the platform but the education of my journalism background to I guess just bridge the gap between student athletes and media, and then also fans obviously.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Obviously, in the world of professional athletes and collegiate athletes, even now, the way the landscape has changed with NIL and all of these different facets. How wide or close do you think the gap between the media and the athlete is coming together or spreading apart?
I think it's coming together a lot. So I know like because of social media and Instagram and TikTok and things like that, different podcasts, like it's so easy for these athletes to now kind of tell their own stories, and still with the help of like professional media personnel, but we have the opportunity to also use our own tools so that we can like see into their lives and how they train or what they do for recovery or like just what they think about other things. So maybe not so much athletic related, but everything ties into sports these days, like social stuff, political stuff. So just using their platforms to actually bridge that gap themselves instead of always using like traditional means of media. So I think that's been really interesting to not only see but also be a part of on both sides of being like the journalist and being the athlete.
How would you describe um in your own words how your education and the education that you're obtaining in journalism, obviously having the pleasure of sharing the classroom with you, going back to Dr. Walker's class in controversies. Obviously there's a lot more to journalism than sports,
Yeah.
and obviously the things that are happening in this country. How do you think your education and that you are obtaining in journalism, how do you think that that's helped you become more aware
Yeah.
of the current events that are taking place in sports and the current
Mhm.
events that is taking place outside of sports?
Yeah, my dad and I always talk about this because he always asks me like, well, not always ask me, not in a way of like, are you sure? But like he's like, are you still happy that you chose journalism? And I always am like, I am so happy. Like, there's probably so many other majors where there's a direct path to a career right after college in terms of like maybe medical school or things like that. But I'm glad I chose journalism because even Dr. Walker's class is talking about controversies and hearing so many different point of views and coming from different people with different backgrounds. And as me, like I'm a black female, I have a different point of view or background or path walk than maybe somebody who is Caucasian and grew up in New York, whereas I've grown up in the South. Like there's just so many differences and a lot of like stereotypes that come with people and their differences. But when you sit in rooms with all these people who have different ideals, but still are all journalists and still want kind of the same outcomes in terms of just the truth being told, it's so interesting just to see how much more information you learn because when you surround your what did we talk about in class? It was like the echo chambers of
Yes.
sitting
Yeah.
in one area with
Yeah.
these one group of people and this is the y'all share the same opinions and the same things being repeated. So then that's just instilled in your brain. Whereas going to college has forced me to think, okay, this might be why she sees it this way. And not that either one of us is right or wrong. We just see it two different ways. And I think it's just made me a lot more open minded to differences.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like for me, obviously, just being and keeping tabs on what's happening in the world. I don't know if this is you, but for me, I find it virtually impossible to have like one perspective. Like I don't I it's like especially when it comes to politics, and we're not going to get into that today, but when it comes to politics and knowing how politics plays a role in sports, knowing
Mhm.
how race plays a role in sports, it's very difficult for me to have views that only align with one particular chamber. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So like what if you have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, literally just yesterday. So, this is like a random topic, like
Yeah.
really random. But one of my best friends that I also play volleyball with in high school for club, she's a hairstylist now, and I want to do sports media, so that's something where I have to be on camera. She's a hairstylist, so she does people's hair, and then we have another couple friends that do a couple different other things. But we were having the debate of is it appropriate to go to the grocery store, go out with a bonnet on or with a hair cover on?
Mm,
They were kind of saying like, yeah, like who cares? And I was like, well, I just think like it's not the best idea because historically, like black people are already kind of at a disadvantage and like representing yourself like that out in public, even if it's for a minute, like you never know who you're gonna run into, who's gonna see you, or in my case, like I want to be on TV one day. Obviously, women are scrutinized a lot for their appearance, so it's like my opinion is no, I'm not ever gonna go out with a bonnet on my head, but theirs is different, and it's not that one of us is right or wrong. We just have two different views, backgrounds, goals, and um I guess connotations with the topic that we were talking about. And that's somebody who kind of shares like same race, age, gender. And so just think about the differences between people who don't share any of those same things. So that's a big debate that we've had recently, but we enjoy those conversations. So
yeah. Yeah. How and speaking of conversations like that, I- how have you navigated uncomfortable conversations with people that look like you,
mm,
coming from the same race and things of that nature? Have you found yourself trying to tiptoe, you want to, oh, I want to be careful of saying this because I don't want them to view me a certain way. I want to be careful of how I come across as this because I don't want to be viewed like this or viewed like that. Have you ever found yourself tiptoeing or, just not speaking on a situation in your authentic self, so to speak, just for the sake of other people's feelings and how they feel towards you?
I don't think I do. I do a good job of like what you see is what you get with me. Like I'm going to have the same opinions. I'm going to have the same passion or maybe lack of passion behind the same things. And like there's never going to be a point in time where I'm just overthinking, should I say this or should I bring this up? Like if it's on my mind, I'm going to say it. And I feel confident in that because like if you don't agree, that's fine. You don't agree, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong because I'm going to bring the information. I'm going to bring the facts behind it. But if you just choose not to agree, okay, that's not a war I need to fight. I've said my piece and that's what I believe in. And if you disagree, it's okay to disagree. I'm like I have strong opinions and I'm very verbal, but at the same time, I also know like some people just won't budge, and that's the same way I'm thinking. They're probably thinking, and that's okay to just agree to disagree.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not gonna lose no sleep if you disagree with me. I
Right.
like
Like okay, I have
okay.
peace.
Like, okay, like I'm gonna still go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have any regrets. I'm happy we had the conversation,
Hmm.
but I'm not gonna lose sleep over that. And that's the reason why I wanted to ask you those questions because I know, going into journalism, speaking for myself, I people have made a lot of money off of the ridicule and the embarrassment of other athletes, so to speak.
Hmm.
And I there's going to come a point in time where we will have to have those uncomfortable conversations, that trickle into race, that trickle into politics, that trickles into gender and things of that nature. But yeah, no, I'm happy I got your thoughts on that. Um, but sticking with Kentucky for a second, you went through a trying time in your career and a trying time in your life. That's when you tore your ACL.
Yeah.
On February 20th, 2023. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm cursed with knowledge. So if you think that's weird
Right.
that I understood the date, but what was that experience like? Like,
Yeah.
I, what was tearing your ACL like that caused you to be out for the remainder of that season, and then for an extended time the next season? Like, what was that process like for you?
Yeah. So I tore it when we were playing at Vanderbilt. I was going up for a rebound. I always talk about rebounding like that. That's my that's
Yeah,
my jam. But I was going up
yeah.
for a rebound and I came down on my right leg and then somebody else's way. I think it was Sasha Washington. I always mean to like DM her.
What?
Like on like, oh you did this, but like, hey, like did you know? Like I
Wow.
see her on TikTok all the time, but I just always forget. But yeah, a little bit. She like nudged me a little bit at the same time I was coming down, saw all my weight, and then some of hers also went on my right leg, and I fell down. And I don't even really remember the pain, honestly. They just said I screamed because there's a certain shriek that people have when they tear their ACL. That's
Mm.
what Coach LZ and Coach Amber told me because they both also tore their ACL. So as soon as I went down, they heard the shriek. They knew. I think everybody that day knew I tore my ACL, but me. Like honestly, I thought it was just like maybe a strain or like hyperextension. I'm like, yeah, like I'm okay. I can carry my bags to the bus. Like
Wow.
I think everybody but me. Like my trainer, Courtney, she was like, yeah, we'll see when we get to like I think everybody knew but me. But
Wow.
yeah, that was a really hard time. And I always told my trainer Courtney, like, I wish there was a handbook of like everything to expect. Like, when people are expecting children, they're like, what to expect when you're expecting.
When
And
you're expecting?
I
Yeah.
had one for like everything ACL injury related. And so it was really hard, not just physically, but after surgery mentally as well. Um, because you literally have to relearn to do everything. It's like your muscle is pretty much gone, your quad's gone, so you have to rebuild everything from scratch, and that was really hard. And then mentally it's just hard because you're missing out on everything. So you're not on there on the court talking to your teammates like in line, and you're
Right.
not going to every practice because you have to go to rehab, and it really did take a mental toll on me. And if you ask anybody that I've played with or I've been coached by, like I'm very positive. So I practice like I'm the one dapping people up or talking loud.
Yeah.
And that's just who I am and how I like to play. Like I'm laughing, I'm smiling, like I'm having a good time. And that was the first time in my life that I felt like I don't feel that way. Like
Wow.
dreading going to practice. I'm dreading going to rehab. Like I really do think I was depressed, and I just didn't know that that's what it was because I had never been in that point. Um, and thankfully my mom is like very in tune with my emotions and like how I am because like she just knows. And so I think for a whole year I had like a denied her saying like, like you need to make sure you're emotionally okay. Like, are you good? And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like acting like she's getting on my nerves. But then I'm like, you know what? No, something is wrong and I do need to like, mentally fix myself. And so I had an assistant coach at that time, Coach Jenny. she actually ended up tearing her ACL too, so we were kind of
Oh, wow.
everything at the same time. But she gave me like a daily devotion book, and that just kind of helped me reframe my mind, and that did numbers for me. But I did the best I could in terms of supporting my teammates and just being there and getting through everything. But I ended up having to have a couple more additional surgeries, one more at Kentucky, and then one when I got here to Georgia. And the process here at Georgia was even more kind of frustrating just because there were a lot more steps in terms of me being cleared, and then the actual clearance of having to control your minutes that you're able to play. It was a lot mentally and physically, but I always tell people I'm actually glad I went through that because I do think it mentally made me stronger, and it might have sucked while I was going through it, but in hindsight I'm like, no, if I could get through that, like if I could get through that, there's no reason why I can't make this podcast happen in 2 months. Like that's
Right.
really
That's
my mindset in terms of like that. I that's the hardest thing I've been through, and I made it through. So like I'm good. I am okay with anything that's thrown my way.
yeah. No, that's really good. I'm happy you said that. I was never aware of I knew that there was a mental hurdle that you had to get through when it comes to having injuries like that, but I was never aware of the mental the mental health obstacles you would have to face, like a depression. Do you think that when athletes, specifically in the collegiate sector, or I mean, yeah, I guess professional sector as well, do you think athletes go through a little bit of depression? When it comes to those types of season-ending injuries.
Yeah, I think it also just depends on like everybody is different. And so I can speak for me, but maybe not other athletes. I know other people that I have talked to, maybe prior teammates or former teammates, or just people that I know through the web of women's basketball, because you know that world is so small. Athletics is so small in
It
general.
is.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but just hearing their stories of like you were right, like the mental part is the hardest. I have a teammate, Mimi, Amia Jenkins. She went to Kentucky with me and then Pittsburgh, and unfortunately, she tore her ACL last year. And I remember the first thing I did, like I called her and I was just like, yeah, like the physical pain is going to be like crazy, but like the hardest thing is going to be your mental, maybe. So to like just be prepared for that. And I don't think she really understood until she was going through it, and then she let me know, like, yeah, like you were right. And so
Wow.
it is very popular. I think, thank God, we're kind of in a time right now where a lot of people are talking about mental health, and
Yeah.
so there's not that stigma where people have to be silent about it or uncomfortable with it. So, um, I do think it's popular. Maybe I don't know how it varies between gender and gender, but I know for women's basketball, at least a lot of the other athletes that I've talked to,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I want to read you a quote that you said when you were interviewed for this article. And it's highlighted in black. You said the toughest part about my ACL journey has been the mental aspect.
Mhm.
I've never been seriously injured or out for this long of a time. Even in day-to-day life, I haven't faced a lot of incredibly hard challenges. I understand now more than ever how easy it is to become negative minded and angry so quickly because of your circumstances. But you also said, when I reflect over the last few months, I've grown so much about my perspective on things. And I truly think that that has helped when I intentionally start my days with positive thoughts and
Mhm.
affirmations.
Yeah.
How has this injury,
Hmm.
do you think this injury, in a way, obviously it changed your life for the better, considering the mental breakthroughs that you've had, so to speak. Do you think if this injury didn't happen,
Hmm.
um, do you think you would have developed the mental fortitude as quickly as you did?
I don't think so unless something drastic in my life were to have also happened. But if it was solely based on the events without the ACL injury, I really don't think so. Like I think it really took that, honestly, and, like, I hate that it happened, but I'm also so glad that it happened because I think it forced me to, like, really look at how I am emotionally and how I think, and, yes, I'm very positive to other people and, like, people around me, but also, like, how do I take care of my own self? I think that's what it kind of forced me to look at, and I do a better job now of, like, prioritizing my own mental health.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So what are some things that or activities or hobbies that you have to help you maintain your mental health, help you to make sure you see things clearly in life?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing I do, like I talked about in the other article, was just starting my day with something positive. So I'll wake up and like I'll read something or a quote or scripture maybe because I'm religious. Like I'll read something that just kind of starts my day off on the right foot. And I definitely see a difference in when I don't do that. When I don't take the time to do that, like
Mm.
I respond to, I guess, bumps in the road throughout my day worse than
Yeah.
whenever I do read something like that. I also journal a lot. That really helps. I like writing, which is strange because I usually don't when I have to write all those essays for grad school. But I do like writing when I'm talking about like my day or things that are going on. And I like reading it back later, seeing like, oh wow, like that was a very rough day, but girl, you got through it. Like you're good. Like that's kind of healing to me. And then just like the usual type things like self-care. So like I'll always make sure like I go get my nails done, or sometimes when I was at Kentucky, if I had a bad day, I would just go to Starbucks and buy me like a $20, $25 cup, and then next thing I know, I have like 20 Starbucks cups in my
That's crazy.
condo. But yeah, like just silly things like that that are so minimal or seem so small, but they really do just help me kind of rewire and reframe my brain. And then I think one thing that I did when I was playing basketball at Georgia and Kentucky is whatever problems I had before practice started, ignore that. It doesn't matter. Come to practice. If practice doesn't go too hot or I'm not having the best day, when I leave practice and go home, I'm not going to sit there and be upset about it and talk down to myself about it or even cry about it or get emotional. Like if I had a bad day, okay, I had a bad day. We've left the gym, now we're home, focus on school and other things, and then when you get back tomorrow, like it will be a better day, and just take it day by day. Like
Right.
don't harp on things so bad to the point where you can't even move on yourself mentally. And I think that was a really big um I guess lesson I taught myself that I'll take into obviously professional world too, because like there's going to be job days like that on the job. So
Yeah. Yeah. Were you someone that took things personally? Like would you like hold grudges towards people?
nah, I'm not a grudge holder. Everybody always like finds that shocking too, because I am very like happy emotional, but I think my coach at Kentucky, Coach Elsie, would always say like some people's emotions are all the way up here, some are down here. Like I do a good job of staying in that middle ground. And so I don't hold grudges. Like whatever is gonna happen is supposed to happen. And if it doesn't make me extremely happy, okay, like there's other avenues to, I guess, merge into and not worry about, an event or something that was said or something that happened. Like I don't have time to hold grudges. Like I'm too blessed. There's so many other great things going on in life for me to hold grudges.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, I guess this is probably a good time to tell you that I've been, you know, holding a grudge against you. Never mind. That's not what we're talking about.
What?
That's not what we're talking about. Anyways, on to other news. No, no, no. All jokes aside, but that's really good. Again, not to be cliche, but as they say, I'm too blessed to be stressed. You know,
Literally.
so that's really good. But among the other blessings that you've had in your career, especially at Kentucky, you've played with a few elite talents in your career. You played with former five-star prospect Robin Benton.
Mhm.
And what she did, she was tough coming out of high school. I ain't gonna cap. You
That
know
is
what I'm
so crazy. Yeah, because she's from Georgia. Robin is a wild girl. I love Robin so much.
Yo, hey, listen. I will reach out to that woman whenever I say, hey, if you want to hop on the platform, I have some questions I want to
People
ask you,
want to. You need to hit her up.
cause you're good at basketball. Like she's really good at basketball. Like real talk. Um, but you also played with former first overall pick
Yeah.
in the 2022 WNBA draft to the Atlanta Dream, Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
Um, it's crazy. I knew you played at Kentucky,
Hmm.
but and I knew Ryan played. at Kentucky. I didn't know that
We
she
played.
played there at the same time
A lot of
as
people, like, forget that because, like, obviously with COVID and stuff, some people don't actually line up, like, "Wait, you were there?" Like, yeah. Mhm.
Hey, man. I'm not even trying to sound like a fanboy. Like real talk. Like she is a hooper. Like she's a
Yeah.
bucket. Like y'all were all hoopers for real. Um, but what was it like sharing the floor with Robin and sharing the floor with Ryan?
Yeah. It was so much fun, first of all. Those are 2, like, I'm so thankful for social media because so many people can, like, see their actual personalities a lot more now. Like, I had so much fun playing with them, but, no, both of them were older than me, so definitely 2 people that I looked up to as leaders on the team.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, like, so many good memories and, like, yeah, we had some rough practices and rough games sometimes, but just the response to, like, how we, responded to, I guess, the challenges of the seasons, I don't know, they were just impeccable leaders, like, definitely did a good job of just keeping morale up and keeping us motivated and just seeing the bigger picture of things. So, like, yeah, non-conference might be iffy right now, but we have a second season of conference. Like, that's something we have to look at. And then after conference, like, there's postseason. Like, they did a good job of making sure that we would rewire our brains and focus on things. And so I had a very fun time playing with them. I always talk about playing with Ryan is so interesting because she just plays so, like, swiftly, like, it
she
doesn't
does.
like she's going, like, 1,000 miles per hour, like, it doesn't look like she's, putting so much energy in, but she's so efficient and, like, she really is, she just does it so gracefully, and it would always be so funny because, we wear catapults, which tracks, like, heart rate and,
Yeah,
like, load and things like that while we're playing, so, like, people know, like, we need a break or we're gassed or we're pretty good.
right.
Um, her load would always be so low compared to everybody else, but she was so efficient that, like, we couldn't go off her catapult number in terms of determining if she needs a break or not because yes, she needs a break. Like, she's doing the most. It just doesn't report that on the numbers, but she is.
Yeah.
And that was something that was interesting. I always tell people about because yeah. And then Robin, I'm talking about team clown, but also, like, will lock in so fast. So off the court, I mean, the funniest person. She was also a journalism major, so she kinda understands the whole
Wow.
carrying a camera across campus and interviewing people and trying to get to the news show on time after practice and stuff. So, yeah, so I looked up to Robin, not even just basketball wise or leadership wise, but even as a journalism student, like seeing that she did this while playing basketball, like I definitely can. Like we're doing the same thing, and that's somebody that I can still go to for advice. And yeah, I just had a really good time, both of them, Ryan and Robin.
Yeah. No, that's really good. From what you're telling me about Robin, I obviously I wasn't there. I didn't wasn't able to experience her humor, but it gives, I'm not gonna lie, like Sydney Colson. Like
Yes.
I can't lie.
The perfect comparison.
Cause
That's
Sydney
really
cause Sydney, I don't know if you've seen like whenever whether it's Sydney going live on Instagram or if it's Aaliyah Boston going live on Instagram or Caitlin Clark even like just like when I see Sydney, I'm like, bro, every time I see this woman, bro, like she just makes me laugh. But
yeah.
like you said about Robin, yeah, there's a time and place for everything. We can
Mhm.
laugh we can laugh when we off the court. But
Yeah.
when we on the court and we trying to win, now it's time to lock in. And you've
Yeah.
seen Sydney, play at a high level. She's been a part of championship teams, with the Aces. So yeah, no, that's really good. And this kind of shifts into the WNBA. When you think about Ryan, first of all, you're her former teammate.
Mhm.
What and you also spoke about how meticulous and how graceful she is and
Mhm.
how she allows the game to come to her.
Yeah.
And I've seen Ryan play, especially when she got to the Dream. I wasn't really in tuned with SEC women's basketball until like 2023,
Okay.
which is really when like the boom
Mhm.
of college women's college basketball was really starting to run. Um, and honestly, that's not like to say, "Oh, I just didn't like women's basketball." Like, no, I loved women's basketball. It's just I just it God didn't put it on my heart
Don't
yet.
put it on God.
Listen, I know you're very religious, and I'm religious too, and I'm not trying to blame God. But God didn't tell me, like, Cam, you need to I'm
Yeah.
like, and if it makes you feel any better, like, I've been thinking to myself, I'm like, why haven't I been tuning into the to college women's college basketball and the W in like 2015, 2014, 2013, like with prime Diana Taurasi and
Mhm.
prime Maya Moore. You know what I'm saying? Like, why didn't I do that? And I feel really bad because I'm late to the party. You know what I'm saying? But
Better late than never, though. So
no,
I always
no,
say that to people because I feel like a lot of people say the same thing, but I could understand how it would be hard, like especially if you're not in it or playing it. Like
yeah,
it just wasn't like pushed out as much as maybe men's sports. So I don't even blame people for that. I'm just
yeah,
glad they're here now.
yeah. No, I'm no. Listen, Naya, I am here and
Yeah.
I am excited. Like really, obviously with the WNBA. But back to Ryan, you
Mhm.
spoke on how she's so efficient, right?
Mhm.
And I saw that this year. I don't outside of Alicia Gray, outside of Jordan Canada, Naz Hillman, who was six woman of the year,
Mhm.
um, Brittany Griner and her contributions. Ryan, she is hooping, bro. She was hooping. And what did you see throughout throughout this entire season that a person like myself didn't think to see, or the fan who didn't play? What
Mhm.
was something that you really loved about uh Ryan's game and how it took that next step
Yeah.
into being a contender in the W?
I don't think people will process in terms of because it's not something where somebody is playing, but I guess the leadership of her on the court and off the court. So I'll see a lot of the times during the games, like things will happen, and she's somebody that's like calming the rest of the teammates down or trying to get them pumped up in the moment. Like, and I feel like everybody on their team needs somebody like that that will understand the feel of the moment, the emotions, and like know exactly how to get the rest of their teammates on board. And it helps that, like, yes, she can score, she can defend in a certain way, and like that's the basketball aspect of it, but also like the mental, emotional, and verbal part of also getting the rest of her teammates on board. And so I definitely think that that's helped because obviously over the past handful of years, like the culture of the Atlanta Dream has just like had so many ups and downs, but I feel like it's finally getting to a point where it's kind of all going in one motion.
Yeah.
And I think that she's been a really big part of that. And knowing how she did that at Kentucky, I know she's probably doing so much more now that she's even more mature and older with the Atlanta Dream. And I think that's a testament to her maybe building the trust and like building relationships off the court. I know she's always with Alicia Gray. They're like best friends, and just seeing like how she responds to Ryan, I'm sure everybody else on the team also feels the same way. So
Yeah.
I think
No.
that's really been a big piece, and I know a lot of people are always like, "Oh, it might be she's shooting better or she's defending better, this, that, and the third." But I think a lot of time those things that people don't see that aren't like stats are also the things that take a team so far mentally. Because if you can handle certain things that are thrown your way and persevere through those things with somebody who can also have the numbers to back that up, like it takes a team so much farther than they, maybe should or be predicted to go.
Yeah, I agree. I saw, I want to say it was game 2 of the first round, and uh, Alicia got into a little altercation with a
Yeah.
fan. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, first of all, this just already proves my preconceived notions about the Indiana Fever's fan base, not the team, but the fan base as a whole, because it's had a lot of run-ins with different players. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, do you know how difficult it is to get a player like Alicia Gray? Like
Riled up like that.
riled up like that. And when I saw it cut when she was going back to the bench, I saw Ryan and
That's the
how
first
Ryan
we went to, yeah.
and Ryan was, consoling her, and I was like, wow, like that's leadership that people don't
Yeah.
talk about. And so when you speak on how Ryan has been, a great leader for you, a great leader for when y'all were playing together, and a great friend to everybody on that team, it just quite literally confirmed that if I were in the NBA, or if if I was born a woman and I pursued the WNBA, I would want a teammate like Ryan Howard, because not a lot of teammates do that in the world of sports. So with you having that personal relationship with Ryan, how did that, like, did you see that live on television, or did you see that on social media?
I saw it on social media. I forgot where I was that night. I've been so busy recently. I don't all my nights like run into each other.
I
But
understand.
yeah, I saw it on social media and I was just like, first of all, interesting because I grew up obviously Blythewood, right outside of Columbia. Alicia Gray went to USC. So like
Yeah,
seeing her get like upset, I'm like, oh Lord, like what's happened? Because like you said, it takes a lot for her to
it
get
does.
it takes a lot. Like I've never seen so much emotion out of her unless she's like, very happy after a big shot or something. But I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, kind of like what you said, like, okay, look where they were playing, what happened. And then you see like the first person she talks to, and it's like, not only is that like one of her best friends, clearly, but it also just shows like in that moment, like that's somebody who can calm her down or maybe calm the team down and get them back focused. And I feel like I've seen her do that so many times, like, during our own games at Kentucky with some of my teammates, so it's just like, of course, like, that makes sense, of course she's doing that, like, of course it's her.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I think, again, it just speaks to the leadership and the humanity that Ryan is, and that she displays. And so, yeah, it crushed me to see that they lost, because I had them, you know, as a favorite to win
Yeah,
it all. And when you look at Alicia, especially how Ryan, because there were some nights Alicia was Robin, and there were
mhm,
nights where Ryan was Batman, and it was just kind of, they reversed it on most nights. But I was like, man, Alicia's a top 5 MVP candidate,
yeah.
and you hate to see that. But if you've had communication with Ryan since that loss, what was that communication like? And yeah, like, just kind of explain how that communication was.
Yeah, I haven't talked to her actually since the finals started, but I
Mhm.
definitely will be sure to hit her up.
Yeah,
I know a lot of the times, like, when I do talk to Rye, I had a project, I think, last semester, and I just had to get, like, her recollection of something that happened at Kentucky one time, and then she's a really big SpongeBob fan, and there's, like, a funny video that I just had to send to her one time, and we were laughing about that, but
yeah,
no, I will say, like, not even just Ryan, a lot of my teammates from Kentucky, like, I still talk to, we still have a good time. I remember even when I transferred here to Georgia,
yeah.
before basketball season started, like, maybe so around this time last year, um, we were, like, on a 20-person heavy call group FaceTime, all at different schools, just like, "So what's going on there? Like, how are y'all doing?" Like
Facts.
yeah.
That's good. That's
Mm,
really good. That's really good. Um, no, we don't have a lot of time left, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on the WNBA playoffs. Obviously, the Atlanta Dream, they suffered that devastating loss to Indiana in the final moments. But what's been a couple of takeaways that you've had from these playoffs? Is there a team that we should be looking at as a reality to win it all, or should we still stick with the preseason favorites, the Minnesotas of the world? Like, what's been a couple of takeaways?
yeah, I'm a big Liberty fan. I was a fan because I, did an internship in New York, and I got to go to the games, like, in the suite, and it was just so much fun, so I've been a Liberty fan, but I think who I want and kind of predict to win is the Aces. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and then even just the Cheyenne Parker, she just had a baby, but she's, like, come back and she's doing so well. I think that's something that has really amazed me this season, just seeing her. I know it's hard coming back from injury. I could only imagine it being hard coming back from giving birth to a whole human being. So just
Yeah.
seeing that, and then I think too, just the energy surrounding like Asia Wilson and becoming MVP, back to back. Like I feel like that's just gonna do so much. And I know the series is tied. It's tied, right? 1-1 right now, I think.
It is. Yeah, yes, it is 1-1, because
Yeah.
Las Vegas, they decimated Indiana in that game too,
Yeah.
because Asia had a superb game. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're gonna end up winning.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
you spoke on, you spoke about the Liberty. You were a huge Liberty fan. You interned. Uh, it with Nike.
Yeah, it was Nike.
You interned with Nike in the summer of 2023. What are your thoughts on the Liberty not renewing the contract of Coach Brondello?
I was shocked. I think I posted on Instagram as soon as I found out too. I was like jaw dropped because kind of like what everybody's saying, like they just won a championship. Like, how do you just move on? Unless some things are going on behind the scenes, obviously, like people who are in locker room, they're not gonna know. But maybe that's the only way that I could see something like that happening.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, that definitely shocked me.
yeah,
And even just the whole, did you see like where a reporter basically asked a question
uh
like,
huh,
the what would be the reaction just in case she doesn't come back for another year? And everybody's just like, what are you talking about? Like just seeing that and then this happen, I'm like, I don't know, it shook me and it just kind of makes me it makes me question like why, but not even in just the sense of like she just won a championship. I
right,
saw somebody the other day talking about how there's a couple like NBA coaches who have had some consecutive, like not so great years and they're still there, but one, not up to par season compared to last season and she's out. So yeah, that
yeah,
that disappointed me. And I'm
yeah,
interested to see who they're gonna have
yeah.
as
No,
a
I
coach.
no, I agree because I was gonna ask you like, how do you think her not coming back would have on Jonquel and Stewie and
Yeah.
Sabrina? Like,
And all the yeah. I don't know.
I can
Like I
see it
said,
now.
unless there is something else going on that we're just not aware of, and I hope too that before she was let go or that maybe this was a discussion with the player. I have no idea, but I don't know. If I was one of the players, I would definitely feel very blindsided by management for sure.
Yeah, no, I felt that because you spoke on the article where the reporter asked, "What would you do in the event that she doesn't come back?" And obviously, she's not coming back now, so it's kind of like, okay, what do you know that I don't know? Has somebody
Yeah,
been feeding you information? Like, because I feel completely blindsided.
yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Whew.
Really is interesting.
Yeah, no facts. So if you if you if you were to pick a franchise um that could be in use of a coach, because we already know she's gonna get picked up. This is a championship head coach. She knows the game really well. Like, she is one of the best coaches. But if there's a team that you could pinpoint a location for Coach Brondello, what team would that be to you?
Oh, I feel like this might be a little controversial. I would definitely wanna see her with the Chicago Sky, and I say that because
Wow.
yeah, I know that's really strange, but over the last few weeks, like, with regular season ending and just seeing, like, the response to Angel Reese's struggles,
Yeah.
a bunch of
Yeah.
decisions being made, and seeing how in New York, like, she's kinda, like, built the program up and not built it up completely, but, like, was part of that championship team
Yeah.
and just building the culture around New York together because when I was doing my internship, everybody was excited about the New York Liberty, like, that was the place to
Mm,
be on game nights, and so I would just love to see I guess Angel Reese happy with the people that she's around and knowing that, like, they're taking this very seriously and, they're trying to win games and
yeah.
I mean, she has the talent there. It's just and she's proven she knows what to do with talent. Championship year, she did that. So I feel like this year might not have gone her way, but I think going to Chicago, like where Angel is literally asking for that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be a big deal.
No, I agree. I think wow, I didn't think about that at
Yeah.
all. Because there's just like, you have two, they call them the Twin Towers, and Camilla and
Yeah.
Angel. And I mean, eh, yes, the team didn't perform to the expectations like they were supposed to, but Angel single-handedly, like, her and Camilla, we've seen time and time again coaches have all of these talented players around them, and for whatever reason they get mismanaged because
Mhm.
of a coach's inability to I don't want to say they're incompetent, but their inability to unleash or take their game to a next level that can see results like in wins or stuff like that, and
Yeah.
in the playoffs. So yeah, that would be very interesting. I thought I would I my dad and I talked about it. I was like, I would love to see her in Seattle. You coach,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I can see that.
because Seattle, when the season started, they were one of the hottest teams,
Mhm.
and then like within like 3 weeks to a month,
Hit a
it's
slump.
just
Yeah,
every
down here, hit a slump.
everything started going downhill. And for a little bit, I thought the Aces weren't going to be in the second round because
Yeah, they did have a little hiccup too,
they
but
did. I was
I just
like,
feel like you have so much experience though, like that was okay. Like I knew like okay, they're gonna bounce back from it though because like
right,
they have these same people on the team that know what it takes. And then I think that was around the time when Asia was like calling out her teammates, like, no, like we have to do better. Like if you're not gonna be better, then like leave.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it was
and
gonna turn around. It was gonna turn around.
I was about to say, I was like, well, look where they at now. They're here. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, they may just go ahead and win it all. But
Literally.
yeah. So, but that's good. I also wanted to ask you a question or two about your transition into media. I know
Mhm.
you're starting this podcast. I had the pleasure of seeing you a few months ago at the sports creative community gathering, and when you told me that you weren't playing again for Coach Katie, I was like, "What?
Yeah.
Like what? What?" And then you said, "I'm gonna transition into uh, the booth and commentate." I was like, "That's really good."
Yeah.
What has been like? What's your experience been like? Making the transition from, you know, being the athlete to
Mhm.
being someone who is a former athlete but is covering these same athletes that you had relationships with.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, honestly. Like I said, I've known since I got to college, even when I went to Kentucky, I knew what I wanted to do, which is part of the main reason why I also wanted to go to Kentucky, which is a SEC school. And then when I transferred, wanted to stay at SEC because like I just have a lot of ties in terms of sports media in this conference. And so it's been a lot of fun, busy. I always thought like, okay, when I'm done playing college basketball, it'll be like a weight and I'll have time to, do everything I want. But I've kind of found it like the new weight is like my sports media career, like figuring out what's next and like what where I want to apply to, where I want to send a reel to, what events I want to go to. And so it's been a lot of fun. I'm also still in the process of educating myself in other sports because like I know women's basketball, men's basketball, volleyball, but like learning more about football and softball and baseball and just whatever I can get my hands on. So I've been like really busy with that. And a lot of people I guess expect like, oh, now that you're done with basketball, like you probably have so much free time. And I'm like, no, I'm doing so much more work in terms of what I want to do for my career. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been learning a lot, making a lot of good connections. Thank God Athens is close to Atlanta. So like the networking event that you ran into, me and Jaden Vickers, we will tag team and just like go to all these events together. Like we're going to
Yeah.
one on Wednesday. And I think it might have been after that one when we decided to like do our
Wow.
it might have been right after that one, but yes, like I said, she wants to be a sports agent, so she's made a lot of connections, and we always just like trade off and get into these same groups and group chats and events and things like that. So
Yeah. No, that's
a lot
that's
of
really yeah, no, that's really good. I wanted to ask you about the coverage of women's basketball.
mhm,
Obviously, we just talked about Angel Reese, and I mentioned Caitlin Clark as well. Um, the media has been in, I won't say turmoil, but the media has been on fire, specifically when it comes to these two young women
mhm,
and what they've done for the growth of the women's game. At like everybody, you yourself, Ryan, everybody that you've played with has made a contribution to the growth of the women's game. Um, but what is your opinion on the coverage of the women's game
yeah,
and how people there was an op-ed article written about Caitlin Clark and how people, the players in the W, need to take it in layman terms,
mhm,
take it soft, be soft on her, like stop roughhousing her. But what people don't understand is that the WNBA and college basketball, women's college basketball, it's always been physical.
Yeah.
It just this this dialogue didn't it unfortunately didn't start until Caitlin Clark has, and she's never labeled herself as this, but
Mm,
people have labeled herself as the savior of women's basketball. And
yeah.
me personally, I feel like that does a disservice to the women that have laid the foundation
Before.
for everybody to make their own marks. So yeah, what has been your opinion on, I'm gonna be very frank, the misogyny,
Yeah.
and the racism and the
Yeah.
sexism towards black women, and all women, regarding the misogyny and the sexist part in women's basketball.
I literally hate it. Like, I don't like racism anyway, but then it's like when you bring racism into a space where it's basketball, where I love basketball, I play basketball, to bring it into that space. And kind of like what you said, just knowing the history of women's basketball being very physical. Like that's just what it is. And I understand like we have a lot of new women's basketball fans, a lot. And so I understand their perspective of this is their first time seeing it. So they just don't know what they don't know. And so that's why they feel like, oh yeah, like she's being roughhoused, or this is like they're getting get back, or this, that, and the third. Like people just making crazy stories and assumptions and things like that. But like you said, going back to school and like seeing things from different perspectives, I get why some people would think that because they just don't know the history and the culture of women's basketball, specifically in the WNBA. And um I think about, the stories that are like, what was your welcome to the W moment? Like something that has happened that like showed a player like, oh wow, like this is the real deal. And so I think I just wish people would come into the space a little bit more educated, um and not being so, I guess, naive or ignorant to the fact that there are so many people that have come before Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese, or there's just so many people that you should be naming and knowing if you want to come into the space of women's basketball,
Yeah,
with such strong opinions.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, and it frustrates me too because I know how much work you all put in,
Hmm.
and you all put in a lot of work, more than what I know, and behind the scenes to perfect your craft. And I don't like how it gets, uh, that progress that women have made, it gets thwarted because of the uneducation of the new fans.
Right.
And I remember being a new fan. To be completely transparent, my girlfriend, who you met at
Yeah.
the Sports Creative, like last year, I saw a TikTok with Sunny Hostin,
Hmm.
and she was on The View, and she spoke on Caitlin Clark's rise and stuff. And Sunny was basically saying that some of that rise is attributed to white privilege. And I remember hearing that and seeing that, I was like, bro, what? And so I'm going to, my girlfriend's house, and we're about to watch the Fever play the Sky. And this
Hmm.
is one of Angel and Caitlin's first matchups of their professional careers.
Yeah.
And man, she tore me up. I ain't even gonna lie. Cause I hate that as a guy, and please charge it to my head and not my heart. But sometimes as a guy, you think you come to an area that you have no experience in, and you think you know everything, and
Hmm.
you think you can apply what you've learned from the NBA and men's college basketball and
Different.
into into the W and
Mhm.
women's college basketball, and you come to find out you don't know jack squat. You
It's
know,
different.
like, and when I say she tore me up, not in a bad way, but like the education was like, I was like, wow, like she may break up with me after this. I'm not even gonna like, dang, bro, like, and that was a real thought that I had, and I was like, yeah, like, okay, so if I'm gonna be with her, I need to learn the game, but not because it's not so that I can just be with her, but
Right.
I'm gonna be in sports media, and I want to be in sports media, so I need to learn the history and the
Yeah.
education. And if I'm gonna critique someone
Mhm.
in someone's play, it's only going to be in the play. It's only going to be like if I'm going to critique somebody, I'm going to say Kennedy Carter. I'm not going to lie, that wasn't a basketball play. I see why you did it because because Caitlyn was talking a little trash. But come on now,
Yeah.
people gonna eat that up, man. Like you know,
So
but but yeah, like I wanted to ask that because I know you're making that transition.
mhm.
Um, so when it comes to your guests on your podcast, right?
Mhm.
What type of guests are you gonna have? Are you gonna have those former athletes that played, like former female athletes that played in women's sports, and are
Mhm.
you gonna be exploring topics about equality, gender equality, and racial equality,
Yeah.
pay equality, so to speak?
It's like no topic of is off limits. So like we're gonna be talking to people who might even still play a sport or who are playing like professionally somewhere right now, whether it's overseas or in the NFL, WNBA, like whatever it may be. Obviously I said Jaden plays softball. She has a whole nother network of people who um she wants to be an agent who played softball and who are agents at different agencies representing these athletes. So I obviously know a lot of people who are in sports media just through like the networking events that I've been to. And I always make sure to ask, like, hey, I have a podcast. Like, would you mind being a guest? Like if I asked you, and they're always very supportive. So just there's so many, I guess, parts of sports in the big ecosystem of it in terms of sports business, sports media, like whatever it may be. And so nothing is off limits. So whether it's somebody who's an agent and sees like the business side of things, somebody who's a former athlete or current athlete and still playing professionally, whatever it may be. And like you said, talking about pay and like what it's like to actually network and gender differences in the world of sports and also just casual things too. So life in your 20s, like, going out on the weekend in Atlanta, what is that like as somebody who doesn't have to, practice on a Monday? Like,
Yeah,
what is that like? Or going out to different events and knowing how to speak to people and how to approach people that, you're in a social setting, but you want to meet them in terms of like, your professional goals and how to do that in a way that doesn't seem so forced. So there's just so many topics that, are sometimes addressed surround depending on what group you're in college, but just showing people like literally what's the next step? What's going on now?
yeah, yeah. No, that's good. Because I think the way sports is created is so that no topic gets left behind.
Yeah.
And the best part about you is that you have that journalism education to where you know the questions to ask, even even if they're the most controversial, the way to structure the question, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So yeah, no, that's really good. My last question, or yes, my last two, for real. My last question to you, or one of the last two, Jesus. You spoke on when you were at Westwood
Mm,
in Blythewood, right? You spoke on the how girls basketball was booming,
mhm,
but then you also spoke on the moments where you were involved when college women's basketball was booming,
mhm.
and now you are connected to a player like Ryan Howard, who is a part of the boom in the W in the professional setting. What's a common denominator between all three of those uh, uh, elevations in women's basketball
Yeah.
that you have personally noticed?
I literally think a lot of it is the players like speaking up for themselves. So I know like when I was in high school, that's when like TikTok was coming out. And so even just something as simple as posting a TikTok with your jersey on and dancing, like now people are like, oh, who is this like playing basketball? And then you keep up with them and then you follow them on Instagram. Then they go on to college and you still keep up with them. And then it helps like you said, the events with 2023, just seeing like women's basketball boom, but seeing so many people who are athletes humanize themselves through their own social media, it draws fans in, it draws viewers in. People want to know more about them, not even just athletically, but socially and like what do they support politically. Like people are just so intrigued by other people's lives. Like let's be honest, that's what it is. And so I think having that attention has definitely driven people to actually watch the games as well, or maybe buy a jersey, because it may not even be like, oh yeah, I like her game. Like, you just might think, I like how she does her hair and she plays basketball. So like, let me go get a jersey and support. Let me tune in. Let me watch her do her makeup before she plays. Like,
Yeah.
little things like that, I think, have definitely been like the driving factor. And I don't want to say like it's disappointing, because I wish the truth would be everybody just watched it because like girls can play basketball at a very high level. But whatever gets people there, like I said, as long as they come in the space correctly, that's all I care about. But I definitely think that social media and actually positioning pages to focus on women's basketball and women's sports, so volleyball too, or um, sports that just have other females in them, or even like the NFL, like highlighting stories of female coaches in the NFL. Like, these things are just becoming so much more common, and I think that's drawn a lot of attention. So
Do you
I like
think
the news.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Do you think that we will see a woman be a head coach in the NBA very soon?
I I do. Yeah, for sure. I think that I know I talked to a lot of people about like their athletic departments at different schools, and I went to um spring meetings this past spring, and we were in Florida, and there was like one room where we had to speak to all the athletic directors, and I was just sitting there thinking like, there's a lot of males in this room right now, but I think like in the next few years and like over the next decade, there will be more females in these positions, like not even just like coaching, but management and athletic directors. And I think things are definitely changing, and I love that, because then it gives more room for people who are like myself to be in these rooms where we can be in positions of leadership. So I don't know. I love it. I'm excited about it. Like, I think this is a really good time. That's another reason why, like, I think I'm so excited during this time of figuring out like what I want to do and what I want to be, because there's just so many waves of change happening. Like, I love being part of the change, and I've constantly been part of that change, and like this is just a different avenue of that, because I'm no longer playing, but in terms of sports business, like I'm being a part of that wave. Like, I'm actively in it.
Yeah. No, I listen, I'm happy for you and what you all have done to grow and elevate and educate people on the women's game. Um my last question, um when it comes to your media endeavors and when it comes to this podcast, that this passion project of yours, and you are going to be calling games very soon. Um what is to you, this is kind of like a three-part question.
Hmm.
What to you, when it comes to your media endeavors, what's the objective? What is the goal? And what is the dream?
Okay.
And obviously, as you know, the objective is something that has to happen.
Yeah.
And the goal is something that, you know, my goal, either you overachieve, you will be okay if you achieve a little bit over,
Mhm.
or you're almost there but you're still near that goal, but your dream, like what is something that you're currently living and what is something that you're currently chasing?
Okay. Yeah, I'd say my objective, something, it like it has to get done. It will get done every time. I just feel like being an appropriate voice for the athletes. Like I said, I know a lot of people that I've played with, or when I did internships with like football teams, just knowing that they don't like talking to media personnel. So I just want to be the person that's like, you should feel comfortable talking to me. Like, I'm going to tell your story the right way. And like, if there's anything that you don't like or dislike, like we can talk about it, and you will be represented in a way you want to be represented, while also telling the truth about your opinions or experiences. That's the objective in everything that I plan to do while I'm living and doing sports media. And then in terms of goals, I always tell people my biggest goal is I just want to host a sports show on a network, like maybe co-host with somebody else, but like I want to be the one kind of deciding what we talk about and what the angles are. Like, that's the ultimate goal. Kind of like I'm trying to think, like Paul Feinbaum, like how he has this
Yeah.
show and it's just him talking like that. I want that, but for a woman hosting it, and a black woman specifically. That would be the ultimate goal, and that's when I've known, like, okay, like you've made it, like you're doing something. Like, people like to hear your opinion and take it seriously, and you're credible, and that's my ultimate goal. And then What was the last one you asked?
The last one was, what was the dream?
The dream.
Yeah.
I feel like my overall dream is to just continue to have fun in my profession. So I'm just starting out, and yeah, there's been trials and tribulations, but at the end of the day, through those trials and tribulations, I'm still like, that was fun. What's next? I love that. So I guess my dream is to just always feel that way while I'm going through my career. So I have really big goals in terms of where I want to be, but I want my dreams to still have the same emotions towards it. Like I never want it to feel like a job, and I don't think it will. That's the ultimate dream because I know a lot of people get into a job or a role and it's their dream job, but then they just fall out of love for it. My dream is to never have it feel like a job.
Yeah. No. I I think when it doesn't feel like a job, then that's the place that you're meant to be at.
Mm,
And honestly, when you start calling games, I think you're gonna have fun with it. Um, and even with the podcasting, from personal experience, it's fun. It
yeah.
really is, and it's gonna even be even more fun because you not only have a co-host, but
Mhm.
you also have a co-host that you're close with, and you
Yeah.
also have a co-host that you went to the same school with,
Mhm.
and but you also have a co-host that is branching out into a different sector of the sports
Mhm.
industry, and you're branching out into another sector of the sports industry.
Right.
And so those differences and those variables can really play and turn into a cohesion
Mm,
that makes the opportunities endless for you and for Jaden. Especially when it comes to you wanting to be a host like on the SEC network or on ESPN or wherever that may be at. And so yeah, I don't have any more questions for you. That it quite literally were all my questions that I had. But I just want to tell you, Nyah, that I appreciate what you've done to help contribute to the growth of the women's game and women's sports in general. Because we talked about your volleyball days and we talked about, your basketball days as well. And, I ain't gonna lie. I am going to be uh I don't want to say a prophet, but I'm gonna be like on the front lines, and I'm not saying that to say that women's sports are charity cases, but I do think when it comes to the education of
mhm.
the uneducated, and I think it's very important specifically for the growth and the progression of the women's game, because not just the fans, and the crazy thing is the uneducated, they're not just fans. It's people in the media as
Yeah.
well, and
Yeah.
it's people who have the credibility that you all aspire to have,
Mhm.
like a Dick Vitale or what's her name? I literally
Commentator?
What'd you say?
What are you talking about?
Um, we talked about her in class one time, and this was this was last year during the playoffs when the Connecticut Sun were playing the Fever in the first round, and this is when Dejanay accidentally poked Caitlin Clark in the eye when Caitlin Clark was going
Yeah.
for a shooting. I forgot her name, but she was trying to bait Caitlin Clark, or I'm sorry, bait Dejanay
It
into and
wasn't Holly, was it?
no, not Holly Rowe.
Not
Uh,
Doris.
Not Doris, but it was another reporter. I forgot her name, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Sure.
look it up after we get off here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, it, and she has credibility. She's a
Mhm.
great journalist. It's just when it comes to Caitlin Clark, it's like there are some journalists who can be very tone deaf and not read between the lines, so to speak. So yeah, I just wanted to say, man, I appreciate you for having, taking the time to be on the show. If you ever want to come on the show again, please do not hesitate to reach out. And I honestly I look forward to seeing you grow in sports media and beyond. Because man, you got it. You know what I'm saying? You got it down pat. You know the game of basketball, you know the game of volleyball. And even when you talk football, I mean, shoot, like, dang, what's
Learning,
next?
like, I'm trying to learn everything because I just never know what's gonna be, like, the opportunity, so
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's really good. That's really good. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Do you have any more things you like to say. I mean, you could take this however long you want to promote your new podcast, where people can find it, where people can follow you. You and Jaden, on Instagram, wherever. Like, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, so our podcast is the Instagram handle is the podcast, and then we have a couple posts on there just talking about background information of me and Jaden Vickers, who's my co-host, and then our Gmail where you can just email any information, or if anybody wants to be a guest on there. We're hoping to record our first episode this weekend, and so first episode should be out within the next month or whatever. So we'll get edits in, and it should be a really good time. And we don't have the exact guest list just yet, but it will be, like I said, people who are athletes, former athletes, people who might be agents, just anybody who has anything to do with sports in their 20s and has gone through the path or is currently on the path of figuring out what's next for them. So, yeah, at the podcast.
You all heard it from Miss Nyah Leveretter, the multi-hyphenate, and she's multi-hyphenate because her resume says so and her mom says so. So if y'all ain't gonna take her resume serious, you better take her. You better take your mom. You better take her mom serious. And you don't want to play with no mom's daughter. Let me tell you that right now. But no, yes. Again, her Instagram handles will be right here on the bottom. I'm gonna edit this as well so people will see that. But yes, Miss Nyah, I appreciate you for again taking the time to be on the podcast. And again, if you have anything you need regarding advice on advice on podcasts, I can definitely help out. Yeah, but again, thank you for being on the show. And
I'm glad we had class together because it's like so rare to actually see other, especially at a PWI, like other Black students in journalism in class. So
yeah,
I'm definitely like, I think it was me, you. There was a girl in there. Her name was Cam also, right?
Carmen.
Yeah, Carmen. Yeah. Yeah.
And Jordan.
Oh yeah, Jordan.
And Jordan. He wasn't in the class, but Jordan. We met Jordan when we came to UGA.
Okay.
So yeah, Jordan. He had his own podcast, the Press Podcast. I don't know why he stopped doing that.
But so busy with basketball.
Yeah, Jordan's been very busy. But I just saw Jordan. I saw Jordan like last month.
Same.
You know what I mean? So yeah, but yeah, no, Jordan, like we actually have our group chat. Yeah. And we be chopping it up about the playoffs. Like real talk. Like we be asking Carmen, like, hey Carmen, what you think about this? Because her favorite women's college basketball team is Tennessee. And so you know what I'm saying? So we be asking, I was like, hey Carmen, Georgia beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
How you feel about that?
I didn't process that. Oh my gosh.
How you feel about that, gang? You know? So but yeah, no, it's I'm happy we had class together as well. And there were times where we talked about women's college basketball, but you weren't there. So I was like, I was like, if Dr. Walker asked me a question, I'm gonna answer how I truthfully see it, but I'm gonna throw you a lob. No pun intended, but I'm gonna throw you a lob. Like, hey, ask Nyah. She got the most experience out of all of us in here. So yeah. But whether you're covering the game or whether you're on the sidelines coaching, or especially in volleyball, listen, I am gonna be here to support. And again, I really do want you to know you have a friend in me. And again, I'm here to help any way that I can. Because I really do believe that you are going to be really good at this. And I can see it. I can hear it. And yeah, I already said what I said. You got it.
I appreciate it. No, that's amazing. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I'm about to end this podcast episode, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Be on the lookout for more content regarding me and the Falcons. The NBA season is starting, the whole nine. And we are going to grow this platform and grow and grow and grow. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Cam Farmer, with special guest, Nyah Leveretter. You all stay safe. Have a blessed weekend. God bless. Love.